ask as many questions as you want, and in front of your parents and other students. So any question, raise your hand. No question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know you guys all go to very good top schools, and you probably know a whole bunch of your friends go to not so great school. So I like to find out from your angle, you see that is a passion, vision, separate people in top, and so what I'm asking is, if kids go to not so top school, do you see them pass to be as successful as you guys to the end? And any feeling about top school and middle school, like middle level school?
I can say something about that. Sure. So a lot about the college admissions process is like, I want to say 30% luck. And you can't really, the school doesn't decide you. There's some people who go to community college, they're the hardest working people you've ever met. There's some people at there's some people at my school, I think they're the laziest people ever. So it's up to the person. And sometimes a lot of people get, colleges aren't always fair, they only see your application. So a lot of people don't get into the college they want to, and they end up in, I guess, a middle tier college. There's always grad school, and it's really up to the person to make the most out of their college experience. And I think for those, if you want to distinguish between those who end up getting a top tier or middle tier based on not considering luck, it's mostly based on having a direction and really planning out your 4 years and setting up goals and figuring out what you want to do, because I think the best applications are those who they have really an idea of what they're interested in and what they enjoy doing.
Personally, I think it really depends on the person, because I know some people who are at Stanford and have kind of gone downhill. They peaked in high school, and then once they got to Stanford, they thought, okay, I'm done. I did what I did, and then I also know some people who maybe didn't get into essentially top tier schools, but after maybe they didn't try as hard in high school, but then once they got to college, they completely changed and they have become a lot more self-motivated. So I think it really depends on the person and what they see that they're able to get out of their experience. So I would say advice for you all, even if you don't get into one of the top Ivies or whatever, there's so much that's just kind of the beginning of the rest of your life. And the rest of your life is what counts. It's not the 4 years of college.
So I have this friend, his name is Jack, and he was in my English class my sophomore year, and he did really badly in the English class sophomore year. And when I say bad, I don't mean I know you were missing. And when I say bad, I don't mean getting a C or a B or a C in the class. I mean he literally failed the class. And I think part of that, in the beginning of high school, he was just really unmotivated when it came to work. And I think part of that was just because he didn't really know where he was going with life, what he wanted to do, and that partially confused him. But towards the end of high school, he started figuring it out. He figured out that he wants to go into sports business. And that that's his calling and that's his field. So right now he's at the University of Oregon. That's obviously not a Harvard or a Princeton school by any means, but at the same time, because he's found himself in at this point now, he has a 4.0 GPA at University of Oregon. He's doing great. He's now on the executive board for his sports business club at the University of Oregon, and I can honestly, I see him as a guy who's probably, I think he honestly has a very good shot of being more successful than myself and possibly my other constituents here. And then also another fun fact that I wanted to interject here was that I've mentioned that I go to USC. USC accepts about 3,000 freshmen each year, but their sophomore, junior, and senior, or by the time their senior class is about 4,000 people in it, which means that they've had 1,000 kids transfer in either their sophomore or junior year. My parents asked an admissions officer why we took in so many transfer students from like community colleges, from other colleges, because 1,000 kids in a 4,000 size class is a very substantial number. And the reason for that is because the grades they got in those community colleges were much better indicators of how they were going to do at USC compared to their grades in high school. And that's very true because, like Jessica said, there are a lot of people who work really hard in high school, but then they're just burnt out in college, and they just start going downhill like that. Anyone else?
Address this from the business standpoint, from the working world. So what I've seen is, well, yeah, if you go to a top tier school, the people that you meet, they often open a lot of doors. So going back to the networking thing, a lot of times I've seen that people, if you know someone, you can get your resume in the door a little bit easier, or so-and-so has an opportunity that they would present to you over someone else because you're an alumni. And so a lot of, yeah, I mean, you go to a top tier school for the education, but one consideration is also the network of people that you get into. And so these might be the future leaders, or the engineers, or business people. And I've actually seen, one of my friends went to MIT for business school, and yeah, she basically she started her own business, so she tapped her network of people, and that network of people has helped her grow her business. And so I think that's one consideration that would be also something, if you do have that opportunity or choice for what school to go to, consideration.
Thank you. Question here.
Oh. Hi, thanks everyone for doing this. I just want to ask two questions. The first question is, how did your social circle evolve in high school? And the second question, how did you handle your stress? Thanks.
How did our social circles, sorry, what?
Your social circle evolve.
Evolve?
Yeah.
All right, great. Okay, I guess
I can talk about this too.
Go
ahead. Shoot.
Okay. All right, I guess I'll start then. I think my social circles have evolved fairly dramatically. I was not, so Chelsea, Jessica, and Robert, I consider them all to be my very dear friends. If they were ever in trouble, I would always come to the rescue and help them out. But at the same time, I wasn't friends with any of these people in the beginning of my high school. And in the beginning of my high school, I hung out with some of my friends that were from middle school, some of my friends that I knew from middle school. And those friends actually got in a little bit of trouble and stuff like that. So that wasn't a really great start to be in. But eventually, I found Robert and Chelsea through different activities that I did. And Robert, it was because we both did cross country our freshman year. But then we also realized that we had a lot of other similarities to each other. Like for instance, Robert and I were both very active in Boy Scouts, although we were in different troops. And also we both went to the same Chinese school. Yeah, like you guys, probably 80% of you guys probably go to the same Chinese school. But we realized those similarities, and then after that, that was like a huge icebreaker right there. And since my freshman year, I've been very good friends with Robert. Chelsea, I actually met in Minnesota.
Went to Spanish camp
together. Yeah, it's coincidentally.
Sent us there.
Yeah, our parents, my mom sent me to Spanish camp because I got a B in Spanish. I don't know why Chelsea's parents sent her to Spanish camp.
I don't know either.
But we found each other there. We knew each other. We knew we both went to Palo because we had a class together freshman year biology. And like through those 2 weeks, we actually got to know each other very well, and we've developed a solid friendship since then. And so I guess what I wanted to say was that a lot of these friendships friendships in the beginning of high school may be due to proximity and stuff, but as high school goes on, a lot of those friendships will evolve, or your social circles will evolve to include more of like people that people you know from other activities, whether it's from a sport, whether it's from like MUN or some other club, or maybe even community service stuff. And because you'll realize that you guys have a lot of similarities when it comes to interests, and that definitely makes that is a stepping stone for a solid friendship right there.
Yeah, to add on to that, I think like within 4 years of high school, you can change a lot, like personality-wise, interest-wise, personality-wise, maturity. Like there's so many different things that will change about you, and so inevitably, like the people that you hang out with and the people that you connect with are going to change. So like for me, like I'm still really close to the the people that I grew up with, and that I went to elementary school with. But I also like included a lot more people later on into my social circle, just as I. As I like personally changed and developed different interests. So like really like be open to including more people into your life, because it definitely like will help you grow as a person too.
So I can address your second question about how do I deal with stress, and I'm somebody who's very sensitive to stress really, and I know some people can really be stressed out and still be productive. I can't be. So for me, it was a challenge, and it was a really big goal of mine to really work out the stress in my my work at college. And so it's very busy, and there's a lot of work to do. And I found that the majority of my stress really comes from procrastination. Having to do something really quickly, in a really short deadline because I didn't do it earlier. So nowadays in college, so I used to always do things the day before they were due, and what that would do to me is I'd be extremely stressed out, and often I wouldn't be able to finish. So I think the regular workday that I used to have, for example, for a class where there was an assignment that took, let's say, a week to do, and the work actually only took a day. I used to, not work on it for 6 days, and then work on it for 1 day and turn it in. So that's what I regularly used to do. Nowadays, I do the day is assigned, I work on it, and I finish it that very day. So I work 1 day, and I don't work on it for 6 days, right? So what's the difference there? I'm still working 1 day. Well, the difference is the first method of working, which is what I used to do, was it would be 6 days of stress, 1 day of work, right? But the second way, which is what I now do, is I work on things immediately when they're assigned. There's 1 day of work, 6 days to relax. And that's really big on, my morale. That's what I do for time management. I always have to be ahead. If I can turn in an assignment 1 week early, I will. Nowadays I never do something the day that it's due.
I think another thing that's important is stress. So when I was in high school, I swam all 4 years, and then when I got to college, I stopped swimming. And it's really important to exercise, especially if you're extremely stressed out, because it will calm you down. So that's something I learned in college, because I just stopped exercising completely. But a really good way to relieve stress is to exercise, and to make at least 30 minutes of your time, maybe 4 times a week, to exercise. It'll calm you down a lot.
Yeah, I want to second that, because I danced for 15 years, ballet, and I had to stop winter quarter this year because I sprained my ankle, and that was probably the most stressed out I've ever been, just because I didn't have any kind of outlet for all of that. Because yes, you can handle things mentally, I make schedules to kind of handle budget my time, but just dealing with that physically, it's really nice to have some kind of physical outlet.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, I'll just try to address both questions. First thing about friends. So I have a group of 4 best friends, and we've been best friends since elementary school. And that's probably the single biggest slam dunk in terms of my life trajectory when I was younger. Because all of us were really close, and on top of that, they all had all of them were Asian actually, and they're all just pretty intense, smart individuals who are motivated, and that like as an example, I had this one friend, Alex G, and Alex G and I, basically almost everything I did, Alex G did first, and then I did after. So, he did student government freshman year, I did student government. Then he did track, I signed up for track. He did Lockheed Martin, got the internship, I did that too. He did badminton, I did that too. He did Science Olympiad, he was the president. I was like one of the leaders in the Science Olympiads. He did math club, I had math club. He had key club, I was the vice president. So like everything, in fact, when we both applied to Stanford, I was like certain I wouldn't get in because it was like I had the exact same transcript as him, the exact same extracurriculars as him, and much less of a story than he did. So I was pretty scared about that. Obviously it worked out, and he also got into Stanford. We ended up being roommates at Stanford. But that's just sort of like, I think that's just sort of like the friends are really like the slam dunk, because like, I think it's easier to listen to your friends and to see them and to see that kind of motivation than it is to listen to your parents in many ways. So that's sort of what I have to say about that. I think the people you surround yourself is extremely important. Stress, I have a lot to say about stress, but I'll try to distill it down to small things. So the last 3 years of my life, I was stressed out all the time, all the time. And I sort of developed a methodology the way I think about stress. So one thing is I'm not a procrastinator, so I don't have that problem. But that doesn't actually matter because you have so much work anyway that you don't get to relax anyway. And so basically what I sort of developed is, so I don't meditate or anything like that, but I sort of think about it in terms of there are 3 pillars, kind of simplified, but food, sleep, and exercise. And if you're doing all 3 of them well, it is actually pretty difficult to be really stressed out. Try it and prove me wrong. If you are eating, so food you're covered, right? Your parents probably cook great. So I think the hard ones are sleep and exercise. And so me, what do I do? I try to exercise an hour a day, and sometimes more than that. And sleep, I try to make sure that I just always get enough sleep, all the time. And I think that's been really huge for reducing stress, which is kind of lame advice, but it's kind of what it is. So sorry, but yeah. So that's just that. Yeah.
So Marty, if Alex made a startup and sold it to Dropbox, and you made a startup and sold it to Dropbox, can I be the third guy? Is there room?
Yeah, my question is more towards the one who is at the workplace. So at your tender age and in the early stage of your career, how do you feel realistically about the hurdle, about the ethnicity bringing to you? Say in our generation, the ethnicity is play I don't say the positive power, but in your generation, I think time has changed, and Matthew is half, so probably you have your own perspective. So in terms of upward mobility and opportunity, is this ethnicity play in a factor in? I know it's young and your age, I don't know if you feel that, how you feel?
So probably Jennifer's more qualified to ask this question than me, or Matt, but I guess I could try. So the way I think about it is, I guess I have a kind of different take. My thing is, sorry to go business mode, you guys, but so when you work at a company, what the company hired you to do is to provide value to the company, right? If you join the company, or if you start your own company, your goal is to create value. You want to create, a product that people love and use. Or if you work at a company, you want to, help them build the things they want to be more efficient. And I think my focus is sort of on doing that. And if you can do that, there is always a place for you to live at the company. And so I think with the Silicon Valley, the Valley is really weird. it's weird in so many ways. I don't think it necessarily works the same way the other like places do. But I've found that if you can actually do good work, there is a place for you at a lot of places. And so I think one thing that I'm going to tell you guys is that the reason that we joined Dropbox is actually not because our product was successful. So I'm not like the super like rolling millionaire or anything. What happened is that the Dropbox guys knew me and they'd seen the work that I had done, and they basically hired us for talent, essentially. And I think part of that is like we just basically had no focus on bureaucracy at all. We just focused on just doing our work, and I think that I was very pleasantly surprised to see that like there is a place for that. And so I think that now there's a lot of systems that are making it better and more easier for young people to sort of just do good things, like the stuff Matt's doing with his community service. With his nonprofit. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for people to just go out and do things. And you no longer have to convince people of all this stuff. So I think that's really true. I have no idea what that was like in your generation.
I was just going to say that I think, the biggest barrier to kind of you succeeding in the workplace is really just yourself. And if you are insecure about being Asian, then you'll be insecure about being Asian. But if you're really confident in that, then you'll be confident. And I think it only becomes an issue if you make it an issue. So that's been my experience.
There's a question over there.
Hi, I was curious, going back to that Chinese school comment. I'm working on doing a middle school Mandarin immersion program, so if any Palo Alto parents want to ask me about that, I'm going to be around. I wanted to find out for some of you professionals, as far as maintaining Chinese as a language, does that help you professionally, culturally? What is your take on all those years in Chinese school that your parents forced you in?
I don't speak Chinese.
I don't either.
I went to Chinese school. So I went through Chinese school and so I never fully mastered the language. I can speak conversationally. Like the reading and writing will take a lot of immersion. And I mean, I think I've probably lost out on some opportunities because I don't have the reading and writing skills. So contrary, I'll use my sister as an example. She went to Cornell and did Chinese school as well, but she actually spent more time in her field because she did East Asian art studies. So it kind of required some Chinese skills, but so she can't really read it that well either, maybe like first or second grade level from high school. And she did do a little time kind of studying abroad, but conversationally, it's actually opened up a lot of doors for her. She's in the art world, so you got to bear that in mind. But she has worked with a lot of the top Asian artists. So she works with Guggenheim, and she's worked with like Ai Weiwei, and they're trying to put on some exhibits. And she's coordinating something now in Thailand for an Asian art council. But those Chinese skills actually have come in handy, and on kind of on my side, going back to that. I do wish I spent more time and maybe studied abroad to learn the Chinese, because what I'm seeing in the business place, at least right now, in finance, China is a huge country, huge economy. They're just growing, and one day we might be pegging our currency to the Chinese yuan instead of the dollar. So Chinese is something that will come in very handy later on. I would encourage, if you do have the opportunity to learn it.
If there are other questions, I do encourage the student in the audience. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let me have a bold question for you guys. I know that in high school you're very busy, but you do have time for dating. When did you start that? Maybe all of you could give us an answer. What do you think of it? Is it positive or negative? I mean, in general.
Should we work our way across?
Social skills.
Wait, what? Yeah, Justin.
This tells the truth, okay?
I had a girlfriend my junior year. I was very busy. I meant more from the schoolwork and stuff. I don't know what you want me to say. It does take up a lot of time, and relationships are a commitment. Although I do think that if you have the motivation, you do have more than enough time to make it to make it work. I'm gonna pass the baton out to Robert over here.
Do I actually have to say something?
You want to say that?
Actually, you can talk about your friends. You don't have to. Robin's going to talk.
Oh man, this is tough. Hard question. Okay.
Thank you.
No thank you. Simply, don't be stupid about it. It's important to maybe understand how they work before you get to college, because in college you're a lot more grown up, so it's important to know how things work a little bit. But know your priorities. So.
Those are too vague.
Can we pass to someone else?
Jessica.
Well, I was really busy in high school, so I didn't have time for a social life. But I guess I can tell you that like dating in college is very different than dating in high school. So
I think dating is a very positive experience, and I think it's very important to start dating in high school. I think there's a lot to be learned, because if you wait really long, you have these expectations. If you've never experienced it before, you can really mess up. And I think you learn a lot about how to relate to people. You learn a lot about conflict resolution. I mean, you learn a lot about your own feelings, and I think if you've never explored those realms, it's like missing out on a big chunk of your life.
So I started dating my boyfriend in junior year. And my parents, it's so funny, my parents in middle school, they told me I couldn't date anyone until I was in college. And then when I told them junior year I was dating someone, you should have seen their faces. They were so scared. They're like really worried about my schoolwork, but again, it is manageable. It's like your social life, essentially. You just have to make time for it, but you also have to make sure that school comes first. It's definitely a learning experience. It's something that school can't teach you. It's something you have to go out on your own and learn, and I think it's important to learn in high school. And you do learn a lot about yourself if you date somebody. So I think it's a good thing. I think if you manage your time well, you can date somebody.
So we'll save the last question for students. So who have a question? Wonderful. Go ahead.
I would like to know how much volunteer work and getting like the first job and such translates into a college application.
I love volunteering. Like, I definitely recommend everybody to do some kind of service work or like get some kind of professional experience. Because, like I said earlier, I volunteered at an environmental education museum. It's been like 4 or 5 years now. And I absolutely love it. Like, I have learned things there that I have not learned anywhere else. Not just how to clean up poop, but like basic skills, like, if you pick up something, put it back where you found it. Like, you would, like, I'm working in a lab right now, and there's like PhD students and like postdocs who don't know that if you take something, you're supposed to put it back where you found it. So, like, just basic stuff like that. And, like, I got a lot of like public speaking skills and like how to work in a professional atmosphere and professional environment. So I definitely think that that's like super important. And like how that translates to your college app, it's more like, it's not like necessarily saying like, oh, I had this on my resume, or like I cured cancer and like volunteered at 4 schools in Africa, but it's more like I developed as a person and I became this person because of the work that I did.
I think in Palo Alto there's this very, very big emphasis on community service hours. Like I know for at Palo Alto High, there's this thing called the President's Award, which you get for doing X amount of community service hours. If you get the Bronze Award for doing 100 hours, or you get the Gold for doing 250, and then Silver is like 175 or something like that. And community service is absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong, but what's most important is not the quantity of hours you do, but as Jessica said, it's doing what you actually, it's doing, getting the hours somewhere that you actually enjoy, putting in large quantities of time there so that you show that you're actually committed to this sort of community service and that you're really getting something out of it. Because not only is that what colleges, for instance, are wanting to see, that's what they're expecting to see, but that's also what you really should be getting out of it in the first place.
And don't forget what they get out of it, the people you help.
That is true. Very true.
Yeah, I think if you really enjoy volunteering, kind of back to what I was saying earlier about finding what you love to do, if you really enjoy it, then absolutely go for it. But I don't think you need to force yourself to do it if it's not something that you love. Go find other things that you love.
Before we close out, Deborah has a few announcements.
Yeah, I have a few announcements here. Again, first we want to thank all the panel. Want to emphasize that this, again, reiterate this event, it's put up by Chinese Parent Club, the Chinese Parent Club joined with Chinese parent group and GAM, Chinese parent group. So we have a few of the organizers here, we have the badge here. So we want to talk to them, look for these people. And again, these parents are all voluntary, doing this on a voluntary basis. They're all volunteer. And then they're doing that is not like, they just show as an example, and then, and they will invite more people to join them. So, okay, so again, being a volunteer, because you help your kids, raise the kids not only needs, parents and need a village. So we have village here, okay? So, just not only encourage your kids to volunteer yourself too, and you learn more, and you help kids more. Second thing is there are 3 sign-out sheets. You only need to sign out 1. So the people who haven't signed out, sign that on. Because we can put you into those groups, and make sure your email is in the network. Also, there's one party form for fundraising, school activities, things that parents from parties haven't filled out. Welcome to pick up the okay, and then the last, thank you very much. Thank you everybody.